So, hello everyone. Today I would like to speak about consciousness and the difference between a limited consciousness of this day and age, of this Kali Yuga, and the consciousness of advanced yugas, or you may say a consciousness, unbound or liberated consciousness, whatever the word. So, the liberated consciousness experiences and lets go. The traumatized consciousness, the consciousness which is corrupt, continuously bonds with the experience and does not allow the impression of the experience to dissolve instantly, because it mixes the sense of self, that so-called that which makes us an individual being. It mixes it with the experience. So when people are speaking about liberation, spiritual freedom, they usually are just imagining what that freedom is within their context, within their own personal context, whatever they could imagine freedom should be or needs to be. But in reality, they keep on dragging the chain of events and impressions of these events along their lives. And that's why each year, each moment, their lives become more and more difficult to handle, because all these events and impressions that are dragged behind them suck their energy, drain them, drain their vital energy, drain that energy from the physical body, because the consciousness is constantly remains outside of the body, within the projected reality, and thus feeds this projected reality, and by feeding the projected reality drains its own vehicle, which is the body. So the liberated consciousness nurtures its body. That's why the body glows and can restore its balance once we shift our focus within, refocus within. And also, if we keep on cultivating this focus within, we can also rejuvenate and start realizing the essence of our spiritual being beyond the theories of someone else's hears and says, or whatever temporary experiences, because we understand that whether we have spiritual experiences, or whether we have experiences with other people, whatever experiences we have, the point of the unbound consciousness is that it just effortlessly lets go of whatever it experiences. And letting go is not something that you have to force. It happens automatically, because that consciousness is unbound, isn't it? Because when it's unbound, it's there and it's not there. And that's why life itself is perceived by such a liberated consciousness as a momentum. That's why life consists of constant nows instead of a chain of linear events and impressions of them, which is perceived, the way the life is perceived by the bound and limited consciousness. So the limitation itself is that impression that stays within the consciousness. So the consciousness itself limits itself through these impressions. And how we can know that we are liberated is by having that constant perception of reality, where every moment is just that moment. It's not just imagination, or like everyone decided that, okay, now I have to live in the moment. If it's not a natural expression of our consciousness, we cannot force ourselves to live in the moment, because the mind will constantly come back to the past experiences of whatever nature, whether spiritual nature, emotional nature, mental nature, any nature. And so the liberated consciousness differs from the bound consciousness only in that its vehicle, if it exists, still in the body or partially exists in the body, its body will be aligned, balanced, or means healthy and glowing, exhibiting that vitality, and consciousness will be constantly in a relaxed state, just kind of empty and yet content, because there will be constant, alignment with the higher being, and the higher being is thoughtless. It's a blissful equanimity that is constantly perceived. So when the person is in that state, they don't need to have some kind of a time for meditation or no time for meditation. They never think what they do or don't do. They act spontaneously, but kind of always are in the flow. And that flow of expression and being and action is all in a beautiful blend, as a wise expression of that aligned and free being. And also it is a free expression. It is very direct, as the truth itself. The truth is freedom. When one is free, one is truthful. What is truthful? Truthful is authentic. Authentic means there are no prisms or masks in between one's true being and one's expression through the speech, through the body, through the action. And so there is an alignment, and this alignment is the truth, is authenticity. So when people say that they're authentic, but they have to think what to say, what to do, what not to do, they're not authentic beings then. They're hypocrites. And so we have to be very clear that at this point we don't have a reference point of what the liberated being or consciousness is. And because we don't have this reference point, we keep on speculating. And the mind that is liberating does not speculate because it's dissolved in the consciousness. The mind is the limited part of consciousness. Once it's dissolved, it is just the consciousness operating through the body. So the liberated consciousness operating through the body. And the individual or the sense of individuality is sustained only to the degree when there is a need to function in the body, in the physical vehicle, to that degree, to the function of the physical being. But other than that, the body becomes the vehicle of the liberated consciousness, which is the body is glowing, the body is the emanation of the truth, of that freedom, through all the means, through just being, through speaking, and through actions. So that should give a lot of people a perspective, because it is not the spiritual experiences that define the liberated state. Consciousness may exist within the body and out of the body. Sometimes people have out of the body experiences, or different kind of out of the body experiences, seeing dimensions or experiencing something out of this dimensional reality, and they assume that that is the liberation, that is the enlightenment. It is not, because the enlightenment itself is such a deep sense of clarity and alignment, because there is no clarity without alignment, and there is no truth without alignment and clarity, because when you are absolutely clear, and again, when I say absolutely, this absoluteness grows. The more we evolve, again, our evolution keeps on happening gradually. And so that's where we have when we're truly on the path of evolution, we are on the path of humility, first of all, because the more we evolve, the more we become humble, and yet at the same time, the more sharp and clear and truthful and freely expressive we become, without any kind of censorship, which might also upset some people. But the truth is, those beings, those souls, which by their heritage choose to be born in the cycle and to find their way to the truth, will understand and appreciate this point, and will hold on to this, because this is the only way to dissolve the corruption. Clarity of being aware of own limitations, of own corruption, allows us to pave the way through these limitations and corruptions, eventually dissolving them through this awareness, being aware, constantly realizing how consciousness is draining the physical vehicle, how consciousness feeding the external reality, and thus learning to cultivate self, to shift the perspective, and allowing this cultivation with time to heal, to restore the body, to restore one's being. And once it's healed, then we can say we've gained that sense of humility and clarity so that we can actually step on the path of true spiritual evolution and cultivate ourselves now on a different level. Because until we get healed and realigned within ourselves, it's impossible to understand the subtlety of our existence fully, or the dimension of higher knowledge, because that comes naturally. The more humble we become, the more clear we become, the more we understand things through within ourselves. So we don't need to go and look for the validation in the external reality, look for the truth in the external reality, look for some kind of a form or shape of the truth in the external reality. We look for the form and shape of the truth in the external reality because we are confused. We're in the darkness and the ignorance, and which is opposite to the truth and clarity and enlightenment. So the more we become clear within ourselves, the more we shift our priorities within, and that's how we pave the true path within ourselves towards the truth, the real knowledge, and that's how we become more and more aware. And by the expansion of this awareness, we gain tremendous clarity about what is what. And that's how the enlightened beings, the sages, say that they understood that whatever the dimension, the external dimension of our consciousness is, it is the illusion. They didn't say it because they wanted just to gain some kind of superior position before others. They said that because that was their experience, direct experience, because once they were aligned and clear within themselves, they could then experience everything else as the projection of that self. And that's why they stated that the world is but an illusion. When people just quote sages but are not in that experience, it becomes just a speculation. And so I would encourage each and every person to simplify their being and to really shift their focus within so that we can gain clarity. Once we gain clarity on an individual level, we start seeing everything else outside of us in the projected reality much clearer from that level of clarity we have. And the deeper we go, the more clarity we gain. But there's no such a measurement who is clearer than the other. The more you know yourself, the less you need the external reality to validate you. And that's how you can see your growth and progress, because you perceive that existence, that higher frequency, that higher existence within yourself, and it fulfills you to such a degree that the projected reality is only valid to a degree. And your priority shifts within, and you just know who you are without anyone else validating you. And so then when beings